She broke me with the truth I never asked for. I used to believe silence was the safest place to live. Words, once spoken, had the power to rearrange the world, to fracture the illusions we built around ourselves. And so I lived in silence, in the comfort of half-truths and unasked questions, until she shattered me with the truth I never asked for. It began on a winter evening, the kind that presses against the windows with its cold breath. The city outside was restless, neon lights flickering against puddles of rain, but inside our apartment everything was still. She sat across from me, her hands folded, her eyes steady in a way that made me uneasy. There was no tremor in her voice when she said my name, no hesitation when she told me she had something to confess. I thought it would be something small, something ordinary, a forgotten bill, a mistake at work, a secret purchase she had hidden from me. But the words she carried were heavier than anything I could have imagined. She told me she had loved someone else once, not long ago, and that part of her still did. She told me that the nights she spent staring at the ceiling were not because of insomnia, but because she was haunted by the memory of a man who had left her with both tenderness and scars. She told me that when she looked at me, she sometimes saw him, and that she hated herself for it. And then she told me the worst thing of all, that she had chosen me not because I was the one she wanted, but because I was the one who stayed. The words fell like glass shattering on the floor. I wanted to cover my ears, to pretend I hadn't heard them, but they were already inside me, cutting through the fragile walls I had built. I had never asked for this truth. I had never asked to know the shadows that lived in her heart. I had been content with the illusion of love, with the warmth of her presence beside me, with the laughter we shared in the mornings. But illusions are fragile things, and the truth has a way of breaking them beyond repair. I remember staring at her, unable to speak. My chest felt hollow, as if something had been scooped out of me. She waited, her eyes searching mine, perhaps hoping for forgiveness, perhaps bracing for anger. But I gave her neither. I gave her silence, the same silence I had always lived in, though now it was filled with the echo of her confession. The days that followed were a blur. I moved through them like a ghost, carrying her words like a wound that refused to heal. I replayed them in my mind, dissecting them, trying to find a way to make them hurt less. But the more I thought about them, the sharper they became. I began to see the cracks in our life together. The moments when her smile didn't reach her eyes, the times when her touch felt distant, the nights when she turned away from me in bed. They had always been there, but I had chosen not to see them. Now they were all I could see. I wanted to hate her, but I couldn't. Hate requires certainty, and all I had was confusion. I loved her still, even as her truth gnawed at me. I loved her in the way a drowning man loves the air, desperately, hopelessly. But love built on illusions cannot survive the weight of truth. It collapses, leaving only rubble behind. One evening, I asked her why she had told me, why she had chosen to break me with a truth I never asked for. She looked at me with tears in her eyes and said, "Because lies are heavier than truth." And I couldn't carry them anymore. I wanted to tell her that she had simply shifted the weight onto me, that I was now the one carrying it, but the words stuck in my throat. Perhaps she already knew. The weeks stretched into months, and the wound became a scar. But scars are reminders, and every time I looked at her, I was reminded of the truth she had given me. I tried to rebuild, to patch the cracks, to pretend that love could survive even after its foundation had been shattered. But love is not a house you can repair. It is a living thing, and once broken, it rarely heals the same way. Eventually I left, not with anger, not with bitterness, but with quiet resignation. I packed my things, kissed her forehead, and walked out of the apartment we had shared. She didn't stop me. Perhaps she knew that the truth she had given me was too heavy to carry together. Perhaps she knew that some truths are not meant to be shared, that some illusions are kinder than reality. I moved into a small apartment on the other side of the city. The nights were lonely, but they were mine. I learned to live with the silence again, though now it was different. It was no longer the silence of illusions, but the silence of acceptance. I had been broken, yes, But in that breaking, I had discovered something I had never known before. That truth, even when unwanted, has a way of setting us free. She broke me with the truth I never asked for. But in the end, it was that very truth that allowed me to begin again.